Hi, so how are we all doing this week? Isn't it great the way that the evenings are growing brighter and the days are lasting longer? But you'd never know, would you, that the days are lasting longer because they still fly by. I can't believe it's just about March already. Surely it was Christmas just the last week or something like that. But here's the hook. If the days are passing quickly for us, can you imagine the feelings of those who are in the exam years this year? I was speaking to a year 11 last week who quite rightly pointed out that they actually have had 2 exam years destroyed by COVID. Think about that. 2 exam years destroyed by COVID. I got quite distracted by the fish just a minute ago. Year 10, for those who started in 2019 and finished year 10 in 2020, was interrupted from March onwards. Year 11, for those who started in 2020, going into 21, has been decimated. How do you think they feel with the years just passing on and no real guidance on what happens next? Because let's face it, the transition points are quite important skills-wise if they're going to take the next traditional steps. Now, what do I mean by the next traditional steps? Those are the steps that go from GCSE to A-level and from A-level to degree. They're not as simple as they are often made out to seem. And let me give you an example here. The common train of thought is that those who get exceptional grades at GCSE are prime candidates for A-level. So if you get, say, 6 or 7 GCSEs at grade 7 and above, or even the odd grade 6, then you are, definitely a candidate for A-level. If only it were that simple though. Because over the years, and that's 16 years, I've seen numerous students who go from GCSE to A-level and then say, what was that about? What is that about? Because the skills needed to pass a GCSE exam are very different from those which are used in the A-level course and are needed to pass the A-level exam. But no one really highlights this point. No one really makes it clear. It's just a case of if you pass this slot, then you're good to go on the next. There is no transition in between. It's just from one straight into the other. And that's quite a frightening thought for some, because when they get into the course, they realise things are done quite differently. And that's on a year without a pandemic in force. Now think, what has happened to this year's GCSE students? They've had very little preparation for the exams. Thankfully, the exams are not going to happen. So they will be assessed otherwise, but that doesn't actually solve that transition problem because no one has actually made a decision on what happens after the assessments. My personal view is that they should be kept at school until the summer starts, not through the summer, until the summer starts. So those extra 8 weeks should be used teaching them the transitionary skills that they need to move on to their next steps, be it A-level, be it apprenticeship, be it whatever they choose it to be, but re-engage them in the process that is creating their own lives. Don't just throw them to the wolves. So it's something to think about, either at home or be it at school or be it anywhere. It's something to think about. These kids need to be re-engaged in the process and re-engaged in some guidance and given or even start them along the process of gaining the skills that they need to be able to move on with their lives. Similarly, A-level students who are thinking of going to university. This year's Year 13s have had a similar disrupted process throughout their exam years. And yet, the argument is, to be fair, let's have teachers give them their assessment grades so that they can go on to university. It's not that simple. They still need the skills. They still need to show themselves that they have the skills that they need to go into university. A-levels are traditionally the hardest exams they will take in their whole lives. If you just say the teacher will assess it and we move on, they won't have that confidence that they need to be able to go into the adult learning world of university, which will, I'm not saying it's going to be harder at university, probably isn't, but they still need the confidence and the skills, like the research skills, the analysis skills, the evaluation skills, and all those things that are needed to get a good degree. Because at the end of the day, that is what it is about for them, to get a good degree and shape their lives. I don't think, in actual fact, I really don't believe that at the moment the government policies and guidances that are coming out are actually all-encompassing enough. They're forgetting the reasons why people educate and just going through the process of, if we do it like this, then we look great and people get back to normal. Normal will take a whole new horrendous look if it is not done properly. This is a generation of kids who will not know what they're doing or why they're doing it and understand enough to be motivated and able to actually move on with the kind of gusto that's needed in the 21st century. It's something to think about, and it might be something to have a conversation with your schools or wherever your tutors or whoever you're taking your learning from. It's a conversation to be had about the actual skills that are being missed out. Now, if you're enjoying this and you want to hear some more little anecdotes and guidance really on how to approach, how to interpret what's happening in the world, the education world, I should say, then why not subscribe to the YouTube channel? I would love it if you did. It's always nice to see you here. I'm here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and I'm definitely going to be covering some difficult topics as school rolls back out again. Hopefully for the last time it will have been shut down. As learning recommences and as kids get to realise that there's questions that are not being answered, I'll be here. And you can have a free conversation as well. Free, no obligation, on jgeducate.com. Happy to answer you. So, it's all about transition. We have a transition year every year from primary school. If you're in the school system, from primary school to secondary school, there is a Year 7 transition process that is carried out. And it's a necessary process because they're being taken from one system into the next. So there's absolutely no reason whatsoever, none, why we should assume that we'll just say teachers assess the exams and that's perfectly fine and nothing more needs to happen. They will just move on with the next step in their lives in Year 11 and Year 13. Absolute nonsense. Let's do it properly. Let's give these kids the respect that they deserve. Remember, like, subscribe, share with your friends, bring them in. It's all worth it. See you next week.